help me understand Chapel Bill here with North Carolina.
I
Like,
haven't heard that one. That's pretty good.
yeah, what do we? What's
Um,
holding this up?
I think money right now is a factor. Like how much you're going to pay him, how much you're going to resource the program, what you're going to be able to give him from an NIL standpoint, all of that. I also like in the back of my head, because I had a feeling like something could happen last night, and now this is starting to drag out a little bit. So, there's always that in the back of your head. Like, is he just making sure before he does something that like some NFL team isn't going to call and say like, well, wait a minute, Bill, like maybe we can't guarantee you anything, but might want to wait a few weeks here. You know what I mean? Like, could that happen? I think that's certainly possible too, because I think his preference probably still is to stay in the NFL.
But I thought that this
Um,
was basically the NFL saying, "Bill, we don't want you."
No, I would say here's the way I would look at it. Like I think the simplest, most compact way to explain it is Bill was stunned by the lack of interest last year, right? Like so you had six jobs open, not including New England, which obviously was the one that let him go. And he only got interest really from one team. And then the bureaucracy of that team got in the way of him getting that job. And so now, after a year, he's got the 30,000-foot view of the league. He's gotten to see it the way a lot of these teams operate. Take a closer look at like how each team is affected by all the factors inside their organizations. And he's looking at the jobs that are open, and it's like, okay, like so if I go to Chicago, I got to work for Kevin Warren and with Ryan Poles. If I go to the Jets, I've got to work with Woody Johnson. And I think it's like sort of this calculus of like every team's not going to want me because that's the way it was last year. And of the ones that do want me, am I going to want them? Like, is that path to the right job going to be there for me? And can I count on that? And I think Bill badly wants to coach next year. And so, I think he sees that it's like sort of a narrow path to the perfect situation where things are set up exactly the way that he wants it with an NFL team. Meanwhile, I think, over the last 2, 3 months, he and the people around him have done a lot of research on college jobs and what those look like. And I think what they found is that it's closer to the NFL than it ever has been before. The challenges are, and they may have an advantage because NIL is salary cap, because transfer portal is free agency, and because you might be able to get things up and running faster. I've heard a lot of people make the recruiting argument, right, Dan? Like I'm sure you've heard that, right? Like, does he want to go into an 18-year-old's house and recruit? Do you know how many of those visits Deion Sanders
They
has
don't
made?
do that. They don't.
Zero.
Yes, they don't
Zero.
do that. All of a
Yeah,
sudden, you
so
go,
like,
Mom and Dad, Bill Belichick's on a Zoom call. Hey,
right.
Tommy, just want to say, come on in. Who's more likely to coach in the NFL, Dion or Belichick next season?
I think Belichick. I think Belichick. I think Dion. I think Dion will be back at Colorado next year, um, unless like Florida State comes open. But I think Dion probably be back at Colorado next year. Bill. I think. I mean, I think he could do a deal with North Carolina today. I think he could pull out of that today. I think that all things are sort of on the table today. I think all things are on the table. I think again. I think his preference is to coach in the NFL, but like I don't think he wants to put it this way. I don't think he wants to walk into a bleep show where he doesn't think he's got a great chance to win and suffer the indignity of being 15 wins away from Don Shula and not being able to get there because of the environment that he's working in. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
So I think he wants Shula's record. He's a historian of the game. I think it's BS that I think he wants the record.
Yeah, but the reason
But
why there's an opening is because that team has been a bleep show. Like he goes into Jacksonville. Does he?
which I think is what I think that's what he's starting to realize. But
Yes.
I'm not saying like a bleep show. Like, is it a bleep show that's going to remain a bleep show after? Like, are the reasons for it being a bleep show still in place when you're walking in,
Yeah,
or
that's
are
fair.
you going to have the opportunity to clean it up? You know what I'm saying?
And
And
thank
he
you
may
for
look at
saying
it.
bleep show. I appreciate you
Yeah,
cleaning it up.
he may have like he may like if he goes into a place where it's like we're clearing the decks for you, Bill, and it was a bleep show, but we're going to give you every resource to fix it. Versus like another place where maybe some of the people who are responsible for the bleep show are still going to be part of football decisions. Those are two very different things.